Covert-Ops Danger in Paradise by Steve Barker. A military veteran, Steve still struggles with insomnia and recurring nightmares of dying in odd yet appalling ways, attributable to being held at gunpoint and witnessing other horrors of combat during his participation in the Northern Ireland conflict. Consequently, he is battling his way through chronic PTSD that can often trigger unwarranted anger and hypervigilance, causing him to continually stay on the lookout for threats, even in the most mundane and harmless events. He partakes in a support group for veterans dealing with similar mental health issues where he comes across and instantly connects with two fellow veterans, Simon and George, both sufferers of PTSD. Simon, a slim and tall cavalryman, and George, an ex-grenadier guards with a heavy build, had both served the army for approximately 15 years, all around the world, including the most war-torn areas of Iraq and Afghanistan. Together, when they are not scrutinizing every moving or non-moving thing around them with rigorous attention to detail, they are usually passing around witty and sarcastic remarks to one another. With Steve in straitened circumstances and failing to make ends meet, the other two are not rolling in money either. That is when a perfect opportunity knocks the door. Henry, a friend of Simon from cavalry, is willing to pay a hefty $500,000 to evict a group of thugs who have forcibly hijacked his property in a small Caribbean island surrounded by rainforest, called St. Halb. Although the group does not need much convincing due to their financial situation, they are slightly apprehensive about Henry's reluctance to involve authorities and associate himself with the mission. Therefore, a meeting is held in London, which he shares details regarding the property, which also encompasses a vineyard, and sheds lights upon a possible link between the gang leader and the police, hence the reluctance. With half of the stipulated amount being paid in advance, to lay the groundwork for the actual mission, the three men take their leave. To ensure complete secrecy, they decide to regroup in a couple of days to finalize the details at the privacy of Simon's house. Steve, the planning wizard, utilizes this time to get familiar with the island maps, makes travel plans for different days, purchases necessary items from different stores, using a combination of cash and cards, all to ensure intractability on the off chance that they somehow land in hot water. Once together, they put their minds to work and start drafting a strategy for this somewhat ambiguous task. Henry's property is surrounded by rainforest and heavily guarded by armed men and trained dogs, hence pitch-perfect planning and execution are required to make the mission successful. After booking flights and hotels for all three, Steve says his goodbyes and departs for the operation 2 days before Simon and George's flight. After taking all the necessary, and a series of additional preventive measures, the reason being his extreme lack of trust on others, Steve leaves London. Arrives at St. Bethany from where he has a journey planned towards St. Halb on a private boat, 3 days later with his partners. He avails this time to get familiar with the surroundings and further substantiates the plan by filling in the information unaccounted for earlier. Edward, in actuality, the head of a drug ring concealing his true identity under the pretext of being a taxi driver, takes him around the city. He also introduces him to Derek, who not only alerts Steve regarding Edward's actual activities but also agrees to take the men to and from St. Halb for the secret mission. Meanwhile, Simon and George arrive at the island and, as their first impromptu task, confront and take down one of Henry's associates, sneakily spying upon them. After spending another day on the island, shopping for supplies and securing a safe route towards their meeting point with Derek, the cohort retracts the copies of their passports, removes any and all things of their stay in the hotel and slip out undiscovered in the middle of the night. Sam and Abby, husband and wife and associates of Henry, welcome them to their house and after serving drinks, answer all their questions regarding the property and the thugs controlling it. The information reveals 20 armed men and women, along with 6 guard dogs, residing in the property which consisted of a house, a warehouse and bottling facility, and a vineyard stretching to the coast, currently being used to hide marijuana production.
Hadley, leader of the gang, often allows Sam inside for repair and maintenance of machinery and hence, he had some inside intel. After collecting weapons from another of Henry's connections, the intention is to hold 3 separate observation posts encircling the property for 2 days, to get better know-how of how these people operate and accordingly, formulate an action plan for the attack. In the Land Rover provided by Sam, Simon drops off Steve and George at their respective positions before settling himself down amidst wild trees for 2 days of extreme focus. While they sit there in solitude, pondering over their life choices, conducting some self-reflection, wondering why they took the decision to carry the burden of someone else's grunt work that would eventually lead to more blood on their hands, their attention does not waver from the target for even a split second. Key findings from 2 days of not sleeping a wink and functioning on the bare minimum included observation of clear-cut patterns and routines, comings and goings, a schedule of the dog's activities, among other useful insights for the attack. Sam also shows up at the site multiple times with his arms around a woman who appears to be his significant other. In addition to his cheating, Sam's outrageous disloyalty to the mission is also treacherously revealed as he is observed selling whatever little information he possessed regarding their whereabouts to Hadley. After skillfully bringing a close to the observation posts, they make their way back to Sam's place to incorporate this renewed first-hand information into their strategy. However, what awaits them are signs of a struggle and a full-scale invasion, with Sam and Abby nowhere to be seen. Upon a search, they encounter 2 men left behind by Hadley, who was now holding Abby as a captive, anticipating their eventual return. Experienced, sharp and skillful, these men are too strong for the amateurs and take them down without much difficulty. Ready to take reprisal, they start planning for an attack ahead of the original schedule to maintain the element of surprise despite Sam's treachery. After a recce of the route they are going to take, the much-anticipated time of the mission finally arrives.
With adrenaline rushing through his body and anxiety at an all-time high, Steve maneuvers his way into the vineyard. Shooting down 5 dogs out for their routine walk and 3 of their handlers, with perfect composure and ease. On the other hand, Simon is waiting for the first gunshot to enter the warehouse and does not hesitate to make his move as soon as he gets his signal. George is supposed to take down the armed guards, as well as the remaining dog, at the gatehouse and later join the other 2 inside the house building, after ensuring no further movement in or out of the property. The objective is to either kill or evict as many people as possible from Henry's property, collect the envelope and rescue Abby. After a brief yet fierce 3-prong attack, they together take down all the appointed personnel and also find Abby, beaten up and in excruciating physical pain, owing to torment associated with being tortured for hours at end. She is shattered to discover the truth about her cheating husband and puts a bullet in his head while shaking with rage and despair alike. Before breathing his last, Sam reveals one secret that converts their relief at successfully completing the mission into instant dejection. Henry and Hadley were running the drug business together, and this entire mission was nothing but a malicious ploy by Henry to get rid of his partner, who was not performing up to the mark and was under his radar for suspicious activities. The secret envelope they were asked to bring back contained contact details of his vast drug network. Absolutely furious at being manipulated, they leave the property, take down Hadley and some of his men along the way and, without leaving any suspicious trail behind, fly off to England. Once there, they confront Henry, who initially dismisses the claims as being blatantly implausible allegations and makes a futile attempt to flee without handing over the remaining half of the agreed-upon amount. After getting a hold of him and extracting the due amount, they decide to spare his life. Henry, however, tries to outsmart them by attacking from behind and subsequently, brings forth his own death. The formidable trio disposes of all the evidence and with this mission now complete, prepares for the next.